Welcome to another episode of Well-Adjusted Mama. I'm your host, Dr. Laura Brayton, and today's guest is Andrew Newman speaking on conscious bedtime stories. Andrew Newman is the award-winning author and founder of ConsciousStories.com and a growing series of bedtime stories purpose-built to support parent-child connection in the last 20 minutes of the day. His professional background includes deep training in therapeutic healing work and mindfulness. He brings a calm yet playful energy to speaking events and workshops, inviting and encouraging the creativity of his audiences, children K through 5, parents, and teachers alike. Andrew is a featured expert on Mindvalleys Little Humans parenting channel, an opening speaker for Deepak Chopra, a Tedx presenter in Findhorn, Scotland, keynote speaker at Dr. Becky Bailey's Conscious Discipline Conference, and author in residence at the Bixby School in Boulder, Colorado. He is a graduate of the Brennan School of Healing, a non-dual Kabbalistic healer, and has been actively involved in men's work through the Mankind Project since 2006. He counsels parents, helping them to return to their center so they can be a more deeply present for their children. Hi, Andrew. Welcome to the show. I'm so excited to have you on today.
Oh, what a great pleasure, Laura.
Yes, thank you. So today we get to talk about your magical bedtime stories, conscious stories that I've been pretty obsessed with for the past few years. And now I have a child who I can actually read them with, and I love it. So tell us more about what's your story about how you became a children's author and started to create conscious stories?
Laura, I love that you're one of the pre-mums who got obsessed with the stories and then became them.
I really am. I was obsessed before I had children. I was buying it for all my nieces and nephews.
Oh, that's beautiful. Laura, the stories are, for me, my personal path came out of a family business into the world of healing, into my own healing, a lot of therapeutic work, a lot of training to be a therapist, and everybody that I was working with was dealing with problems under the age of 6, and it had originated under the age of 6, to say more clearly. And I was in a developmental psychology framework that was taught by the Brennan School of Healing, and I really wanted to be able to address problems at a younger age. I watched so many people have so much of their life taken away by negative beliefs, by misunderstandings about the nature of the world that are formed in a very young mind. And if we can form positive beliefs in a young mind, they get a longer, healthier, more productive, more engaged life that serves our communities and families better. So.
Beautiful. Yeah, you're just referring to the subconscious mind, and it's, formed the first 6-7 years of our life. And what's powerful as parents is we can really create and shape that subconscious mind in our children, right? Through these positive beliefs. And, as adults, a lot of us have done work on ourselves, right? Because we all have things from childhood that can be worked on. But I think it is empowering for parents to know that there's a lot we can do to set our children up for more positive subconscious beliefs.
Right. We're in the process of helping them shape their internal language. Dr. Becky Bailey from Conscious Discipline would say that our external language becomes their internal language. And so kids are watching us. They're following and copying us. I say it that kids want love, and the fastest way to get love is to be the same as the people who are giving you love. And so our young child mind is copying mum. If mum's standing in the mirror looking at herself, judging herself for her wobbly bits, or for her something not looking right while she's putting on her makeup, then the young daughter is learning, mum's somehow not okay the way she is, surely then I'm not okay the way I am. And so one of the stories that speaks to that is a book called The Elephant Who Tried to Tiptoe. And of course, Ellie's doing something that elephants don't do. Elephants don't tiptoe. And she compares herself to all the other elephants out there, and then she falls back in love with herself, realizing she's just right the way she is. This is a huge human theme for all of us. I've just used it's not just mums, dads have this as well. I do enough men's work to see that playing out with dads. This is all of the stories have picked out on a big human theme like this, like body image, like our desire for silence, like our desire to connect with the divine, but not necessarily knowing what that is or how to do it. Big, but also simple parts of our humanity.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and really important too. And this is something that, now like my son will be 3 years old in September. So we have lots of books that we read to him, and he loves story time, and he, really enjoys sitting and having books read to him. And a lot of children's books don't go there, right? They don't go to these are like deep messages that you're sharing in your books. And I think sometimes we don't really give kids enough credit that they can handle these deep messages, right? I think it's something for just older people to read and learn about, but it's really, they're ripe when they're, young like that.
Absolutely. And the Play Therapy Institute in Colorado taught me something, because they taught me about congruence between therapist and child. Our kids perceive absolutely everything that's going on around them, and they have to make meaning of any dissonance that they experience. If they say, if you say you're fine but you're really a bit sad, they've noticed the sadness. Then they notice you say that you're fine, and then they now need to work out what to do with that gap. It's a little bit similar for me in these big themes. So these are seemingly big, deep themes, but they are present as humans, and there's no way to hide them. They're actually part of our culture, and so if we ignore them, then we again set up for our kids this job that we give them a task to try and discern what to do with the fact that nobody's talking about them.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that, sometimes as parents, we want to protect our children, right? So we think like, oh, let's not, especially right now, we're dealing with some really intense energetics in the world, right? And it's something that I think is important to talk to our kids about and have these conversations even when they're very young, because they're sensing that mom and dad is stressed, but they don't necessarily know why, right? And they're like trying to sort that out, and they can make a story about that, right? Which may or may not be true. So I think that is important to have these conversations and have this connection and really not try to hide stuff from, well, you can't, right? You can't hide things from kids. Yeah, that's the whole point.
There we go. And the movement of consciousness, if we talk about it that way, and everything that we're looking at is the movement from stress to calm, anxiety to calmness. Self-regulation is a language that we might use in words, whether it's even in the workplace, mindfulness in the workplace examples. And so this is seemingly from a macro perspective what every human is going to need to learn to do, is to move from a state where they've lost their center and become a little bit agitated and return back to a calm place, and then be able to engage from that place. Now, let's make that fun. If we're all doing it anyway all the time, why not make it fun? I speak a lot about the last 20 minutes of the day. That's my TED talk is on why the last 20 minutes of the day matter, and this is the epic moment to do that movement from stress to calm, because if we can do it then we get that calm through for 8 hours for the entire night whilst we're asleep. And one of the leading action steps that we can take to bring calmness in is to breathe, and particularly when we breathe with someone else as a paired breathing, what it allows is us to borrow each other's nervous system. And as a parent, we can take a few breaths before we engage with our anxious child or a child having an anxious moment, and we can relax and settle our system. And I'm doing that just as I'm speaking with you right now. You can hear it slow down just a little bit. I take a breath, I relax my nervous system, and it's almost like you can't help but come along. and have that relaxation happen for you. And when we pair our breathing, like we do at the start of each stories with a snuggle breathing meditation, I'm very curious to hear how that's been in your family. This is something that does that big step and allows the calming and the regulation and the settling to happen.
Yeah. My son has not embraced that yet. We bring it up at the beginning of every story. I'm like, and he had meditation experience in his preschool, and he was always like, no, 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 no. I don't know if it's an age thing. I don't know, but I'm hoping that we can bring it in. He loves the stories. He loves the stickers at the end, but the snuggle breathing, he's not been open to yet.
So I got a couple of tips on that. One, and
Yeah.
this is something I've learned since Corona. We've been doing it online a lot in story time. Firstly, when you breathe in, your arms have got to stretch up to the sky, so the body gets engaged as an action. So it's not just a sitting still breath. And for any young boy who's rambunctious in any way, that might add another layer of fun to it. So breathing, stretching up, and then when the arms come down, they come down like a balloon deflating almost. So that's one thing. Then another story, because I was engaged with a small boy in a local community in Boulder who was exactly the same. At 3 or 4, I'd like, let's do the breathing. He'd be rolling his eyes. He'd be like, I'm not doing the breathing. And I'd be like, okay, well, I'm going to do the breathing for me because I just really need to take these 4 breaths because I really want to be present to you. And then I would just do them. And so every story, every time I would do them, and he could roll his eyes. It didn't matter. At a point, 3 years later, he's now 6 years old. I go around and I'm babysitting for the afternoon, and I'm having a bit of a sad day. And he spots this and he says, "Are you feeling sad?" And I was like, "Yeah." He says, "Are you going to cry?" I said, "I might. It's this. I'm actually, my heart is sore." And he reaches out, he's under the depths of a pillow fort that we had built, and he reaches out this little hand to my hand and says, "Let's do that thing we do at the start of your books."
Oh.
And it broke me, right? I mean, it's like it breaks me again just telling the story. It just broke me wide open because the skill had transferred in a way that he had taken this and understood that this was the moment to do that thing. And it was like, oh my word. And I was like, oh, isn't that delicious, right? Like something got transferred from all of those eye-rolling moments where I didn't give up my values and my principles as the adult in the room. And here it is that now he's got this opportunity to offer that out.
Oh, that's beautiful. And I think I do love that idea of doing it because I certainly know my nervous system can benefit after a long day of working. And now I'm trying to, unwind and relax with my son. I can do it. And I think I'm just going to say, mommy needs to do this. And it's like optional, obviously if he wants to tag along, and at the end of the day, he always wants to do what I'm doing. So eventually he's going to catch up. But it's important for me. And that goes back to the mama self-care. And I know my husband could certainly use a little calming to his nervous system too. So we alternate nights that we read books to him. And I'm going to mention it to him. Like, let's just do the breathing, even if Finn doesn't want to do it. And maybe we'll see a shift. But I love that. Like, there's an opportunity, even if it's not now at bedtime, that he'll see like, oh, this is like, I need it now, I think that's great.
Well, and self-care is where we lead these breaths from. So the first breath being, I breathe for me, and it's like, oh, I breathe for me. And often I have to do that a couple of times till I actually believe I'm allowed to do it for me, because I've been busy giving myself to my clients or to my friends or my men's group or what I've been involved with. And I breathe for me. It's like this return to self. Then once I've got that, I've got something I can give to you. So now I can breathe for you. And we take that second breath, I breathe for you. All of a sudden, us got formed. Before it was just me and you, now it's now us, now we're together. So let's breathe for us. And then we have our context, which is all that surrounds us. And I breathe for all that surrounds us. So those are the layers that kind of, they're very intentional. There's a lot of psychological pain that can come up when We are miasmatic inside ourselves, meaning everything's in a cloud and nothing has its rightful place. And so this is specifically designed that everything gets its rightful place. I'm me, you're you, but we are in this world of non-duality and oneness, but we're different. So how do we hold all of that? And this kind of gives these places and these aspects of self-location, and then that helps settle our nervous system.
And I love another theme that comes up a lot in your books is just the connection, right? And just how we have our individuality, but we're also like all connected, that oneness. And I think that is such a beautiful thing because kids already intuitively know that, but I think it's great to just speak it. And it's also a great reminder for us as adults, right? And I really appreciate that is something that is. Can you that's one of the themes. Like, what are some of the other themes that you have in your books?
Right. So the hug who got stuck is teaching children to access their heart and get free from sticky thoughts. The boy who searched for silence is helping children find silence within themselves. The girl with waterfall eyes, helping children see beauty in themselves and others. We have an animal whisperer story that's based off a real-life documentary, and this shows children how they can connect with animals and respect all living beings. Now, when you do the act of appreciating the trees or the pot plant or the family goldfish or whatever your connection is with nature, there is a way that it makes you feel less isolated and alone. And a lot of the macro themes that I'm working with are a sense of safety to be yourself. So a permission just to be you, however you are. And the truth that you belong. You belong here. You belong in your family. You belong in your school. The feeling of not belonging is one that I've experienced and can be. It's a very painful experience to have to live with. And where we can't make changes, we can mitigate the feeling, and we can start to realize that some of it's coming out of some of those negative self-beliefs right at the beginning that we're talking about.
Yeah, I mean, these are all just, like you said, universal human themes that come up for all of us, right? Not being enough or wanting to, not fitting in, all that type of stuff. And I think having, putting that out there and teaching kids this from an early age, like, I mean, I even read these books to my son when he was an infant, and because he's still listening, right? And I think there's a lot of value to model that. And I think once again, like I mentioned, as I'm reading these books, I'm reminded myself, right? And then I ideally can model these behaviors for my child because it's like fresh to my mind.
Absolutely, and books become intergenerational in that way. So for many parents, they've done some personal work. They've sort of certainly engaged in their process. If you didn't do any personal work by the time you became parents, I'm pretty sure your kids started to help you with that process.
Yeah, it's begun.
they're just like, boom, here we are, and we're going to show up so fully and shine a light on the places where you might have stopped showing up fully. I mention that because some of the language is tricky. We all have to learn language to convey our thoughts and our feelings. We're constantly learning that. It's not. I don't for a minute sit here going, "Wow, I've really got it." I come around the corner. I'm working on a new story about the elephant who got scared and jumped a mile, and I have to work out how to convey some of the inner material that I'm mapping the story based on. And that gives you a clue as to how I do some of my writing. The boy who searched for silence, I did a 4-day silent retreat, not really expecting to write a book, but the book wrote itself in 4 days after that. So if you want to meet me and what it was like for me to be on that silent retreat, then you can go to that story and you can read it, because it's like, here he is. That there was once upon a time there was a boy who went searching for silence. He had heard that silence is golden, peaceful and blissful. Most of all, he had heard that in silence he could be himself. He wanted nothing more. This boy struggled with the noise of everyday life. There were cars and buses, advertisements and programs, instructions and advice. Everywhere he went, noise entered in. He found this very difficult, so he went on a search for golden, peaceful, blissful silence. Now, was that me? Only totally, right? That I needed to cultivate this understanding that silence is a place inside me. It's a place that I can go whenever I want to, that it doesn't really matter what's happening all around me if I have a connection to this place inside me. This is a book that I open every school visit that I do. I open with this story, and it is remarkable watching 256-year-olds literally fall inwards into silence as they follow the path of the story, which will lead you there automatically. They come along, they drop right in. And if there's parents out there who think that kids don't like silence, then I'd challenge that. I think it is worth looking and sharing and cultivating it. And we also can't teach when our nervous system, teach to a child whose nervous system is in a heightened anxious state.
Right.
And this particular story allows the deep settling of that nervous state, and it allows them, whatever it is I talk about afterwards, can actually begin to be seeded and grow in a way that wouldn't be possible on a nervous system that's anxious.
Let's take a quick break to hear a little bit about our sponsor, the Homeschool Buyers Co-op. As a podcast dedicated to empowering families on making the best decision for them, I know how important it is to have choices. The Homeschool Buyers Co-op is the world's largest buyers club for homeschooling families. Founded in 2005, they are a family-owned and operated business dedicated to providing top-quality curriculum at the lowest price possible. Similar to how school districts get educational discounts by buying in bulk, the Homeschool Buyers Co-op is able to acquire homeschooling curriculum and supplies at a discounted rate for the thousands of homeschooling families who join the free membership. Even better, the Homeschool Buyers Co-op hand-selects every curricula sold on their site. That means very curated quality products without the overwhelm of thousands of options. Go check out their website at homeschoolbuyerscoop.org and register for a free account with the code ADJUSTED to receive 5,000 smart points, which is equal to $5 towards anything available at the co-op. I love all this nervous system talk too. As a chiropractor, I mean, this is what I see when I adjust kids. If they're in that sympathetic fight or flight state, then you're not going to be receptive to learning, and it's chaos, right? And it doesn't mean that, kids don't go there, and we all go there, but we want to have that balance between the parasympathetic and the sympathetic system.
Right. This is my learning edge at the moment. In my TED talk, you'll see me talk about the little brain people, and one day we'll make a book about that, because my whole world is clearly visual. But I do think that there's crazy creatures that look a little bit like squirrels scratching around in the brain, and sometimes they're calm and sometimes they're not. But I'm learning from Dr. Bailey's work. I mentioned her again in conscious discipline. So for the parents and the teachers who are interested in a trauma-informed brain state model for relationship development, both as parents with kids, but also inside the school and the school family, then this is the best work that I've uncovered. And that survival brain is asking one thing. The only thing it's asking is, am I safe? Through all of the behaviors, through all of the acting out, through all of that drama, it's, am I safe, am I safe, am I safe, am I safe, am I safe? And like Maslow's hierarchy of needs, we've got to start by addressing that before we can even begin to address the behavior that came out, create the safety, the emotional state, which can look a little bit whiny, like, oh my God, nothing's going my way. That the brain is asking, am I loved? Am I connected? Am I loved? Am I connected? And so we have to restore the certainty of the love and the connection through our skillful means and our language. And then the kids pop up into the executive brain state. And the executive brain state is the one where they're genuinely out exploring something all by themselves, because we're natural learning creatures and we want to learn. and the brain is quietly saying, what can I learn? How does this work? Let me go and see if I can work this out. Maybe I can create something. And it's obviously the most rested state, but it's useful for me to learn about these three and to be tracking them. And then every parent and teacher I share it with immediately goes, oh, that's what's happening. And it's kind of useful just to have this compassion that arises as we understand the brain has literally gone into a different functioning mode, and we can change that and support its way out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Wow, that's so powerful. The Whole Brain Child by Dr. Dan Siegel also speaks a lot about that and just understanding brain development, right? At different ages of the child and how there's, parts of the brain that haven't fully developed yet. They can't necessarily calm themselves down, to the level that an older child or an adult can. And having empathy for that, when there's a tantrum going on, they need a lot of love.
Right. I also need to borrow our nervous system, and because we're
Yeah.
flock animals or herd animals, when a 4-year-old on the other side of the room goes into a tantrum and their brain goes into the survival state, our brain also goes, oh my word, where's that saber-toothed tiger? Something's about to attack.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so here's where we need to take that moment of composure and pause, breathe, wish them well, and then only then come forward to meet them and support them, so that it's not our nervous system is actually the executive one they can borrow.
Right.
But if we haven't taken that a breath, then nobody's borrowing anything from anybody. We're just
Right.
spiraling,
It's just mass
spiraling
chaos.
into the downhill. Yeah.
Yeah, that's so true. And that goes back to, mama self-care, especially like if we're not able to be calm and regulate our nervous system, which requires self-care, then we're really not able to show up for our child at the level that they need to regulate their nervous system. And I would say in the past few months during the pandemic, I've been taking care of families, and I'm hearing over and over again from moms, like they're so stressed. They're working from home full time, taking care of their children's homeschooling. It's really like, and then just dealing with so much uncertainty and fear that they're like, oh, I'm, lashing out at my child because their nervous system isn't able to, it hasn't been able to calm and regulate itself to the level that they need, And so I think I want to share with families and parents, like, if this is happening to you, you're not alone. This is definitely, there's reasons for it. And despite that, like, what do you recommend, Andrew, for us to help stay calm amongst all this fear?
Yeah, what I hear as you name that is how we've lost our ability to naturally discharge, and that we would. And discharging is important, And I'm not. It's not like we have to discharge anger only. We have to integrate our own experiences of the day. And one of the best ways to integrate them is to change place, be somewhere else, go and do the gym that we like to do. All of these things balance each other out, and we've lost some of those balances. I have I have a jumping jack pattern that I choose to do, and at many times in a day I will stop and do 25 jumping jacks, and I will do that as a transition between different things. I will do that when I'm feeling a little bit stuck, because I've been sitting at Zoom for the whole day, and what I know that I'm doing it for is that I want my head, heart, body to come back into balance and alignment with each other. And when we get all heady because we've been doing a particularly heady focused work and our heart drops out, that sets up the imbalance. Equally opposite, our head can drop out and we can be all heart, but our heart gets too emotional, and then we can't contain our emotions because we haven't got the wisdom of the head and the governance, and they need to have a nice paired relationship. And so any physical activity that can cross the midline of the brain, and energize and shake things off, that's helpful. And if it means you've got to sit in a car or go for a drive where you can drive, but you can't get out the car to go anywhere. um, then, that's helpful. And physical movement there is helpful. But then also know that when we come back around to those last 20 minutes of the day, it's a time for repair. And repair is a beautiful thing to be able to model to your kids. And certainly my parents in their lives, I don't think ever apologized to me and said, "Gee, I'm sorry, sorry how I was with you then. I lost my whatever our language is. I lost it, right?"
Yeah, right.
And I didn't mean to, and I could see that you shrunk back, and it looked like that must have been painful. And I'm sorry, and I want to apologize and say that I'm trying really hard not to do that, and you can help me. And that kind of like kindness again allows the parent to come back into this place of, parents have so much anxiety about whether or not they're doing a good enough job.
Right.
Right. And it's like, and if you get a moment of connection where you've softened and your little one softened and you're eye to eye and you're having a giggle or a laugh or a cry, but it's got that melted, connected feeling, then all of those fears about not being a good enough parent, they just disappear as well, because the world is right now. Everything's okay. Everything's okay.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Oh, it's beautiful. I was just tearing up with you sharing that story. I think a lot of people can relate to, the previous parenting model was, the parents, the dictator, and they could do no wrong. And, they were, and I feel like modern parents, like including myself, we want to do things differently. I really am excited to check out the conscious discipline, because I want to learn how to discipline my son differently than I was. I was spanked as a child, and I'm looking for something better than that. And understanding that discipline is important. But I don't remember my parents apologizing to me as a child either. And I've had moments where I have said, "I'm sorry" to my son. And you know what he says back to me? He said, I'm sorry, Mommy." And I'm like, well, it's me apologizing to you, but he's just like, well, thinking like, this is a two-way street too, right? It's very sweet.
And it often an apology is, that moment. There's dual accountability. But we've got to model it again. And that work of conscious discipline sees that discipline is something that arises out of the child and is, in a natural way. It's not something that we have to do to them.
Right.
And so every moment that they act out or play out in a way that's inappropriate, and it's for us to discern that appropriateness, those are teaching moments for us. They're not punishing moments. They're moments for us to come in, and it's telling us that there's a missing skill, and that they need something else to fall back on. And then it's our job to give them those skills. Now, I can tell you, learning conscious discipline is entirely a process of me reparenting myself. There are so many things that I don't know yet. I'm just I have waves of grief coming up as I learn this new skill, because it's like, where was that for me? Oh my word, this is so kind and so beautiful and so loving. Where was it for me? And if there's one thing that I hear a lot from parents, it's, I wish I had these books when I was younger. Because there's this sense of being met in the how we should have been met, the compassion, the connection. And the little activity pages at the end of each story really help open up conversation and engagement. At the back of the story, the hug who got stuck, which is by far the kid's favorite in my clique.
Oh, my son loves it. He's obsessed.
Yeah. What does he love about it? Is it the sticky thoughts or
He likes the sticky thoughts. And then when I turn to the page where the hug is free, I don't even have to say it. He's like, free. Like that freedom. It just fills him up. Like he can feel like the constriction, and then he can feel like the expansion, and it's adorable.
Right. So you're speaking to the arc of the story, the kind of the hero's journey, where our little hug just wants to get out into the world and deliver its love and care, but it gets caught in the web of sticky thoughts, which are made of these negative self-beliefs. I'm not good enough. Nobody loves me. Something wrong with me. And then that hug has to learn how to get free. Luckily, it's learned some things already. The hug sighed helplessly. It stopped wriggling, stopped squirming, and stopped fighting. In that moment, something magical happened. As it stopped wriggling, it breathed in love and glowed brighter. As it stopped squirming, it remembered the heart it was made for. As it stopped fighting, it slipped right past the web of sticky thoughts. Free! And it is a lot of relief that comes into the story because this is one of the reasons why I am all about story, is that I remember how much I get totally identified with the characters in any story that anyone ever read to me as a kid, and in some ways that's the same for me. And so we jump into the character and we go as if we're them for that story. So if the hug gets stuck, we get stuck, and if the hug gets free, well, we get free. And it's like, yes. And then you can go to the daily hug meter at the end of the story, and you can count how many hugs you've had in your day. What special ingredients do you put into your hugs? What sticky thoughts are bothering you? Who are you growing hugs for whilst you're asleep tonight? And these are little conversation starters. I don't know. Do you find that at bedtime your son gets all chatty and he's got lots to say just as you're trying to wind down?
No.
Not yet.
Not yet. Not yet. Yeah. But it's funny when I read that book, especially during COVID, I am so aware of how hug deficient I have been because I do really love physical touch and I love physically connecting with people as a chiropractor. And, when I've seen even friends over the past couple months who won't hug me, I know it's not personal, but it's still like sad.
Yeah, and so our bodies do need that touch, and that's again part of that discharge that we're talking about. Like we're just not getting some of the biofeedback that we're used to getting, and I mean, sincerely, it's hard. So just let's not layer judgment on top of the fact that it's hard. We don't have to be hard on ourselves whilst we're having a hard time. Which, unfortunately, as humans, we seem to be quite good at doing that as well. The moment we feel shame about something, then we feel bad about feeling shame.
Right.
Okay, that's primary pain and secondary pain, and we can take the secondary off the top, and we can just come down to what's basic, and we can run it through our body, feel it through our sensations. Let the body feel. It will transmute it. I love the word. I forget where I got it, but I love the word cresting. We allow our feelings or our emotions to crest. So if we have sadness, like a wave would crest, it'll build, we can feel it, we sit with it, we build, we feel it, we sit with it, and it will crest and the wave will break, and then we will have the relief that comes after that. I'm not yet sure how to bring that down to kids, but if we can do it for ourselves better and model it, I think that they will catch the wave as well.
Mm-hmm. And one thing I have noticed with my son is really respecting all of the emotions that he's feeling, which I don't necessarily remember having that as a child myself. So like he will actually verbalize now, I'm sad.
Right.
And it's like, okay, let's talk about that. It's not like, okay, let's try to distract you and get you happy, right? It's like, no, there's an opportunity. I mean, maybe it's because he wants to watch the iPad, right? Like that might be why he's sad. But it's still like recognizing that, there's an opportunity to connect to his heart and also really honor all the different emotions that are human, emotions.
And so nice. I mean, when I was a child, the book, even the term emotional intelligence was only coined in the 80s. It actually didn't even exist, right? I mean, now we just think about it as this ordinary thing, and so there's no blame on certainly from me on my parents. Their generation just didn't have the language quite literally.
Right.
And this is one of the shifts in consciousness that it comes in now, particularly if you're in the States, and the further west you get in the States, the more likely you are that your parents had a psychologist, let alone you had one, that
Right.
you've done some therapy, and it's I'm fascinated by the meeting point of psychology, spirituality, and creativity. I think that they really are one thing, just being viewed from slightly different perspectives. And it's so nice that we have this generation now that they're able to say, your son can say, I'm sad, because his peers around him are using that language, because his teachers around him are using that language, because you in the home as mum are using that language. Otherwise, he wouldn't have it. It wouldn't exist.
Right. And when he first said that, I was kind of shocked, and but I also was like celebrating the fact that he could actually verbalize. I mean, he's only been speaking words for a few months. So the fact that these are words that he's able to even communicate is important. And he also likes to use to say when he's happy too, which is really cute. We haven't gotten to angry yet, but I know when he's angry.
Right. Well, in the men's group, and this is the Mankind Project I've been involved with for 15 years, and it's a global international organization helping men really at some stage learn these skills, in their 40s often, where we have to work it out. But we use five emotions: mad, sad, glad, scared, love. Shame will come close behind, but it's like, if you can just start there, and you can name what's the feeling and where's the feeling in your body. This is something that parents can do for kids. So when your little one says, I'm sad, you can say, oh, where do you feel that? And what does it feel like? Then you start to get to a term that's called emotional granularity, because if angry feels like I've got a fire inside me, now we're getting some more data about it, and we can build more awareness. And then when they're angry again, it's like, does this also feel like it's a fire inside you? No, this doesn't feel like it's a fire inside you. This feels like I've got ants crawling all over me. Okay, so that's a different, that might be frustration as opposed to anger. Now we're starting to build a different granularity to our emotional vocabulary.
Oh, beautiful. Wow. Well, do you have, Andrew, I'm just really so grateful for you to take the time to come on the show and share all your wisdom. It's amazing. And I called you a children's author, but you're really not just for children. Like, your books have certainly benefited all the parents as well. So it's mutual. But do you have any last thoughts you want to share with the audience?
Like everything in the story, I'm looking here at the book, The Tree of Goodness. And in the Tree of Goodness, we ask what makes a tree good. And the answer, after a long winding road, is that the tree is good just how it is. And at the end of the Ellie story, she's happiest being truly me. And at the horse with no friends make friends when he's just being himself. And so this is our work. Our work is to keep falling into the simplicity of being ourselves, doing the psychological work to tidy up what we need to tidy up, and work with our own negative beliefs, so that we can be present to our little ones. When we do our work like that, when we breathe for us first, they get the best of us.
Beautiful. Well, thank you again so much for coming on, and I'm just very grateful.
Oh, my great pleasure. I love that you're serving your families and your community in this way, and such a pleasure to be able to join and support you in your work.
Well, I hope you enjoyed this episode today with one of my favorite authors, Andrew. We had such a great time recording this podcast that we decided that we wanted to co-host a webinar together, and it's coming up right around the corner. I really hope you can join us. It's going to be Wednesday, August 19th, 2020 at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern. You can RSVP on Eventbrite. And it's going to be all about how you can regulate your nervous system for yourself as well as your kids to help you stay calm and centered during this crazy period. Please come check us out. It's going to be so much fun on Eventbrite. Nervous system co-regulation for kids and parents, coming up in a couple weeks.